Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and welcome to the 9th guest lecture from Occupational Medicine Study Program Faculty of Medicine Universitas Indonesia. My name is Rara. I am second semester student from Occupational Medicine Master Study Program, and I will be your host for today. First of all, I would like to greet Head of Occupational Medicine Master Study Program, Faculty of Medicine Universitas Indonesia, Dr. Dewi S. Sumarko, MS SPOK, Head of Community Medicine Department, Faculty of Medicine Universitas Indonesia, Dr. Retno Astiwardani, MPhil SPKKLP, Dean of Faculty of Medicine Universitas Indonesia, Profesor Dr. Ari Fahrial Syam, SPPD Finasim. Also, I would like to greet our speakers today. Good morning for Dr. Lailana Pervis, MSc, Occupational Health Specialist, Dr. Boni Medana Pahlepi, MKK, our moderator, Dr. Marsen Isbayu Putra, SPOK, all professor, lecturers, fellow doctors, students, and all participants. Today's guest lecture's topic is really interesting because we will hear more about human cancer and its relation with occupation. And today's event will be divided into 3 sessions. The first is opening session, and then lectures and discussion session, and will be closed with the closing session. Before we start the opening session, I would like to remind to all participants for not to forget to fill the attendance form that will be sent into your chat box. And also, if you have any question for our speakers today, you can write your question in the chat box. And also, you can ask directly during the discussion session. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's start the opening session. Now we will hear the opening speech from Head of Occupational Medicine Master Study Program. Please welcome Dr. Dewi S. Sumarko, MS SPOK.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and then good morning for all the participants in online. So, okay. So today we would say thank you for all of you that we have a session for giving information about the cancer in occupational environmental. And then also we would like to very thank you to Dr. Lailana Purvis that she will sharing to us about the occupational cancer. And also thank you very much for the head of ILUNI MKK, Dr. Boni. And also thank you very much for the support for the ILUNI MKK for doing this session. And then I think thank you very much for all our students, master program in occupational medicine, and also for our staff who's attending in offline. And then this session aim is to give information for all of you about the occupational among the workers in the environmental. And then also giving the sharing of some cases in our Indonesian version, I think. So let's say Bismillah for starting this session. And then thank you very much for your attending in offline, I think in this room, and also for online in a Zoom meeting. Thank you very much. I give to the MC.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dewi, for the speech. Okay, now we will listen to the opening speech from Head of Community Medicine Department, Faculty of Medicine Universitas Indonesia. Please welcome Dr. Retno Astiwardani, MPhil SPKKLP.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to all. Good morning, Dean of Faculty of Medicine Universitas Indonesia, Prof. Ari. Okay, and good morning to Dr. Dewi, Dr. Astrid, Dr. Arya, and all the students and participants for this guest lecture. First, I would like to say thanks to God Almighty for giving us His blessing to us to be here attending this event in healthy condition. And thanks also to the alumni of the Occupational Medicine Master Program to help this event and as a committee for this event that has been handling in double, in online and offline. And thank you also to Dr. Lailana as our guest lecturer. Welcome to our humble department. I'm sorry for the inconvenience if there is any, because there are still we are still in the final renovation. So I'm sorry that we still held in this condition. I want to tell you about our department. So Department of Community Medicine is one of the 33 department in our Faculty of Medicine Indonesia, and our department has 5 study program, and one of the study program is Occupational Medicine Master Program. And the focus of our study program, all of our programs focus on expertise in handling or management health in a specific population. One of the population is health worker that we have now have in our Occupational Medicine Master Program. And thanks also to Dr. Boni as our second speaker. Where is Dr. Boni? Hello. I believe from him we will have information. I think he will share his experience and his knowledge, because he works currently in our health provincial health office in Jakarta. And to Dr. Marsen, also thank you for your participation as moderator. I believe he will conduct the discussion fruitfully. And to all participants in online or offline, thank you for coming to this event, and I hope this event will be beneficial for us. So I think that's enough for me. So enjoy this event. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Astrid, for the speech. Now we will listen to the opening remarks from our Dean of Faculty of Medicine Universitas Indonesia, Profesor Dr. Ari Fahrial Syam, SPPD Finasim.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Our guest lecturers from University Medical Center Groningen, Dr. Laliana Purvis, Head of Department of Community Medicine, Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Indonesia, Dr. Retno Astiwadani, Head of Study Programs from Occupational Medicine, Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Indonesia, Dr. Dewi Sumarko, Chairman of Alumni Associations of Occupational Medicine Master Study Programs, Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Indonesia, Dr. Boni Medana Pahlavi, all participants, guests, and college. Good morning, everybody. So I'm Ari Fahrial Syam, the Dean of Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Indonesia. Would like to extend my warmest welcome to all participants, and especially today's guest lecturer from Dr. Laliana Purvis from Netherlands, and also I would like to say welcome to all participants in this webinar, in these guest lectures. We know that the occupational cancer are those that occur due to the exposure to carcinogenic agents in the workplace. So I think this is the important, and also I think we need to talk about these problems because, as a master of occupational medicine, I think in your daily work, you face with these conditions. Today's lecture is held in collaborations with the University Medical Center Groningen, Netherlands, which will update us regarding the occupational cancers due to the carcinogenic exposure. As a Dean of Faculty of Medicine, I'd like to convey my thanks to Dr. Laliana and also Dr. Boni for their time and effort for joining us today. Also, the alumni of occupational medicine study programs for doing such a great job in preparing this event. I hope that through occasions such as these, all participants gain significant insight and knowledgeable around the topics. Without further ado, let's begin our guest lectures today. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Prof. Ari, for the speech. With the opening remarks from our Dean, now we can continue to the next session. But before that, we will have a documentation session. So for the online participant, now you can turn on your camera so we can take our photo together. All right. And to the community, please assist this photo session. Okay, everyone get ready. I will count. Okay. Oh, ada lagi? Okay, get ready. 3, 2, 1. Okay, one more time. 3, 2, 1. Okay, one last time maybe. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Ada lagi? All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we can continue our session. But before our come into the lectures and discussion session, we will have safety induction. Now we can take a look into the video of safety induction.
Selamat bergabung dalam panduan bekerja secara daring. Seluruh peserta dapat bergabung dari rumah atau tempat kerja masing-masing. Untuk kesehatan dan keselamatan Anda selama bekerja secara daring, kami sampaikan beberapa hal yang harus kita lakukan. 1. Mohon seluruh peserta memperhatikan cara duduk ergonomis, yaitu cara duduk yang aman selama sesi bekerja secara daring. Posisi duduk ergonomis. Duduk tegap, tidak membungkuk, posisi leher tegap, tidak menunduk ke depan, atur kursi sehingga sandarannya menopang lekuk tulang belakang. 2. Perhatikan jarak mata terhadap layar PC, laptop, atau perangkat seluler Anda. Atur agar tidak terlalu dekat dengan layar untuk mengurangi resiko pancaran radiasi layar monitor yang dapat menimbulkan kelelahan pada mata. 3. Jika Anda daring bersama-sama, jangan lupa untuk menggunakan masker dan tetap menjaga jarak secara fisik. 4. Perhatikan bahaya kelistrikan seperti penggunaan stop kontak dengan beban listrik berlebih serta jalur kabel dari perangkat Anda. 5. Tidak melakukan aktivitas lain yang membahayakan keselamatan seperti berkendara. 6. Istirahatkan mata 20-20-20. Setiap 20 menit menatap layar monitor, istirahatkan mata selama 20 detik dengan memandang melepaskan pandangan sejauh 20 feet atau minimal 6 meter. 7. Lakukan peregangan untuk merilekskan tubuh setelah duduk monoton di depan layar monitor. Terima kasih atas perhatian Anda. Dipersembahkan oleh
And also we will see safety induction for offline participant.
Oke, selamat pagi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Perkenalkan, saya Dr. Parmitasari. Izinkan saya untuk menyampaikan safety induction bagi kita semua yang berada hadir pagi ini di ruangan meeting bawah IKK. Next slide. Saat ini kita berada di ruang meeting bawah kampus IKK lantai 1 di Jalan Pegangsaan Timur. Ini adalah gambaran dari ruang pintu masuk ruang ini. Silakan slide berikutnya. Berikut ini adalah gambar dari jalur keluar darurat, di mana dalam ruangan ini ada satu jalur keluar darurat, yaitu ada di belakang saudara-saudara sekalian. Ini adalah gambar 1 menunjukkan akses keluar dari ruang meeting bawah ke area lobi. Gambar 2 menunjukkan akses keluar dari lobi menuju keluar gedung. Silakan berikutnya. Gambar yang pertama menunjukkan akses keluar dari lobi menuju area keluar gedung yang akan menuju ke lorong di sisi luar gedung, kemudian menuju ke area master point atau assembly point untuk titik kumpul jika terjadi kondisi gawat darurat. Silakan berikutnya. Jika terjadi kebakaran, yang dapat kita lakukan adalah mengikuti race dan pass. Race adalah rescue, jadi selamatkan barang-barang atau rekan-rekan teman-teman sekalian dari area bencana, kemudian aktifkan alarm, contain atau contain dari api, dan yang berikutnya adalah upayakan untuk memadamkan api. Jika api tidak dapat dipadamkan dengan menggunakan APAR, maka segera hubungi untuk pemadam kebakaran terdekat. Untuk pengoperasian dari alat pemadam api ringan atau APAR, kita menggunakan metode PAS. Yang pertama adalah pull. Mohon maaf, boleh ke slide sebelumnya. Yang pertama adalah pull atau tarik dari safety pin-nya. Yang berikutnya adalah aim atau tujukan nozzle ke dasar api. Yang berikutnya adalah squeeze, tekan handle dari APAR, dan yang terakhir adalah sweep atau sapukan dari sisi kiri ke kanan untuk memadamkan api. Berikutnya. Slide berikutnya silakan. Untuk lokasi, bisa ke slide yang ada menunjukkan lokasi APAR. Untuk lokasi APAR yang terdekat dari ruangan meeting IKK lantai 1 ini terdapat yang pertama di area lobby, dapat kita lihat langsung dari pintu keluar ruangan di area lobby. Yang kedua terdapat di dekat musola atau di samping musola di jalur menuju keluar pintu ruang meeting. Seperti terlihat dalam gambar yang berikutnya. Dalam keadaan gempa bumi, kita dapat melakukan drop, cover, dan hold on. Jika kita berada di dalam ruangan, tetap berada di ruangan, berhenti melakukan kegiatan dan melakukan drop, cover, dan hold on. Kemudian jauhkan diri dari jendela atau peralatan-peralatan yang dapat atau furniture yang dapat membahayakan diri sendiri, yang dapat pecah ataupun dapat menimpa kita. Jika kita berada di luar ruangan, tetap berada di luar ruangan dan mencoba untuk mencari perlindungan jauh dari gedung-gedung, kemudian jauh dari pohon, dan juga kemungkinan bahaya potensial lainnya. Silakan berikutnya. Saat evakuasi, harapkan agar tetap tenang, tetap waspada, cepat namun tidak terburu-buru. Perhatikan tanda-tanda evakuasi yang ada, jangan gunakan lift, gunakan tangga apabila berada di lantai atas, jangan menggunakan sepatu berhak tinggi karena dapat mengganggu proses evakuasi, lalu merangkak apabila melihat ada api atau asap di area evakuasi, dan gunakan sapu tangan yang dibasahkan atau yang lembab untuk menutupi area hidung, dan ikuti arahan dari floor warden. Untuk hari ini, untuk floor warden adalah Dr. Marsen Bayu Putra, SPOK. Ini yang terakhir, juga kami mengingatkan untuk selalu menjaga protokol kesehatan selama acara berlangsung. Peserta diharapkan untuk selalu menjaga protokol kesehatan dengan selalu memakai masker saat berada di ruang auditorium, atau ruang meeting, menjaga jarak, dan sering membersihkan tangan baik dengan hand sanitizer ataupun dengan sabun dan air. Terima kasih atas kesempatannya untuk menyampaikan safety induction. Selamat pagi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Doctor, for the safety induction. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we will continue to the lectures and discussion session. In this session, we will hear explanation from our honorable speakers, Dr. Lailana, also will be followed with discussion session. And in this session will be led by our moderator, Dr. Marsen Bayu Putra, SPOK. Allow me first, Doc, to read your short bio. Dr. Marsen pursued his medical doctor degree from Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Indonesia, and then continue his study in Occupational Medicine Specialist Study Program in the same university. Now, Dr. Marsen active as academic staff in Occupational Medicine Specialist and Master Program at Department of Community Medicine, Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our moderator, Dr. Marsen.
Thank you, Dr. Ara. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, distinguished speakers, Dr. Lailana and also Dr. Boni. So for our lecture session, we're going to have two lecturers. The first one is going to be Dr. Lailana. So Dr. Lailana, if you don't mind, please take your position. Okay, before Dr. Lailana start giving her lecture, I would like to slightly introduce Dr. Lailana, briefly introduce. So Dr. Lailana Pervis is an occupational medical specialist and also an insurance medical specialist from the Netherlands. Beside that, she has also a master business degree and is a bachelor in law. She also owns Pervis Consultancy, in which she is specialized in advising companies in health management. She is a lecturer at the University of Groningen and coaches medical students in the field of communication and social medicine. Additionally, Dr. Leila is also involved in the education program for medical students in the bachelor and master degrees, as well as postgraduate physicians training to become occupational and insurance physicians. And since 2004, Dr. Leila has been a guest lecturer in various Indonesian universities. So Dr. Leila, welcome to Indonesia. And I think we can start giving lecture. So maybe a technical aid can help showing the presentation for Dr. Lailana. Dr. Lailana slide. Okay, so Dr. Lailana, the time is yours.
Good morning, my dear colleagues. Thank you for inviting me to your faculty. It's working. I came in from the Netherlands last week, and as I also mentioned at the Prodoki, from the last 2 months in the Netherlands and in the rest of Europe, we do not use our masks anymore. So I asked the permission of the committee if I could remove my mask because I'm not used to speak. So I heard that I was allowed to, so I hope you don't mind that I'm going to take off my mask. So this is me. And thank you. And when I said I was coming to Indonesia, I said, how about we start talking about something else than COVID? We've been talking about COVID for the last 2.5 years, and things have changed a lot. But one of the problems that the COVID has caused is that it's caused a lot of sorrows. It's got a lot of grief. We've lost a lot of people, like more than 5.5 million people all over the world and counting. But there's another big problem is that a lot of other diseases have not been treated. There are a huge waiting lists for all kinds of operations all over the world. We don't have enough healthcare workers anymore. So there's a huge problem. So I said, let's see one of the problems that we do have here and in the rest of the world. So I would like to ask you to join me into seeing what kind of cancer, what kind of carcinogenic substances can cause cancer, and especially with the ones that we are working with. And I would like to, there are so many of them. So I would like to stick to a few and to show you the ones that are at this moment still very actual in Netherlands and especially in Western Europe. And maybe we can compare what the problems are here in Indonesia. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm used to be very under control. Next. Okay, in 1775, so the 18th century, it was already discovered that cancer of the scrotum is caused for chimney sweepers, and it's caused because it's especially the soot from the chimneys, from burning the coal, and that really causes cancer of the scrotum. But also because of they climb up and down, and it rubs just between the legs, just like if you have in art performance medicine, you also have people playing the cello because it's very close to the scrotum, and it keeps irritating, and that also causes skin cancer of the scrotum. So it's yes. Next, please. And then Ludwig van Rijn, he also saw that aniline dye, which is a dye that you use for silk, among others, that also causes bladder cancer. So way back in the 18th and the 19th century, they already discovered this. Next, please. And we have the International Agency for Research on Cancer. It's from the WHO. And they have made a long list of carcinogenic substances that are very dangerous for human beings. I'm using the wrong. The pointer's not working. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So it's 121 agents, and they say this is for sure, 100% sure, that we have a probability of certain agents, a possibility, and some things are not classified. And I would suggest you to, if you ever have time, just go on the site of the WHO and the International Agency for Research on Cancer, and you will find a lot of information on about cancer and work, and all carcinogenic in what we have found out. Next, please. In the Netherlands, Hermann Herrmonds is the father of the occupational medicine and occupational health. And he, next please. He wrote a manual to the knowledge of occupational diseases in 1908. It's one of the first manuals in the world that is really based on occupational diseases. And he found in this manual, you read that people working in outdoor positions, they have more cancer than people working in the offices or inside. Just for example, we have the construction workers, the seafarers, so everybody, all the fishermen and everybody on boats, farmers, coach drivers. We don't have any coach drivers anymore because that's, well, you know, what you do have, the dokar, you have that here in, yeah. And so woodworkers, and of course in the Netherlands, clog makers because of the wood, lumberjacks. So you have basket weavers, you still have them in the world, not in the Netherlands, but at that time we had a lot of basket weavers, tailors especially with the dyes, the metal workers, distillery workers, people working and making alcohol, doctors, and also priests. Anybody know why priests? Doctors because of all the, well, everything that you have in the hospital. Just think about formaldehyde. Yeah, and the priests, same thing, because they always, with people when they die, use formalin, and they're close to them. It's one of the causes. Next, please. Okay. This is wrong. Can I skip this one, please? Next, please. Okay. In 1974, just one of the examples, in Ohio, the PVC, it caused hemangiosarcoma of the liver. It was a very smart doctor. He was thinking, how is this possible? And in that time, in 1974, they found out that PVC is very carcinogenic. Next, please. Next. So what I would like to talk to you about are the top 4, but also others, exposures that we have in work. And the first is the crystalline silica. Next, please. So we here have the dust, everything made from rock. It is, that's the crystalline silica. Next, please. So the problems that we have with the people in the road construction, what do? They cut, they grind, they saw. So it's concrete, it's stone, and everywhere you have dust, you inhale it. And that really causes lung cancer, silicosis, and also kidney insufficiency. Not kidney cancer, which they have done a lot of research on. Is it one of the causes of kidney cancer? No, but it is insufficiency. and the latency time is between 10 and 20 years. So it's very important for us as occupational medical specialists and occupational physicians is that we have to know how long is it going to take before we get the symptoms. Next, please. As you see here, woodcutters, hardwood, especially all the jutty wood that you have, it causes everything from the whole respiratory system. It will cause a lot of problems because the dust is so sharp. Next, please. We also have the diesel, especially diesel and the exhaustions. It's very dangerous and it causes lung cancer. Can I have this video, please? Or can I have a little video to show you? Dr. Bonnie is going to help me. I'm terrible with anything to do with computers. Let's see if we can share my little video and what can happen if you're not careful. Yes.
美国人也排这边就堵住，操，这鸡巴玩意儿堵的吗？扯的吗？拿剑杆来！
It's not taking it? Oh.
我忍了，我操！哎呦我去！我操他妈！靠，这他妈被人打星星了！我操！ 美国人也排这边就堵住，操，这鸡巴玩意儿堵的吗？扯的吗？拿剑杆来！哎呀，我操，人了，我操！我操，你叫他要干嘛啊？我操！
Can I have the next slide, please? Next. Thank you. Next. So in the EU up to now, proven and registered 4,700 registered deaths caused by diesel. There was a big scandal about the diesel with the Volkswagen and then the Mercedes and the Audi all over the world. But it's the emission, and we slowly are reducing it. You see that they have new techniques, but you do see in the rest of the world, in many parts of the world, you still have the old diesels. Just driving around here, you see all these old trucks, and they slowly but surely will have to be replaced because it is really very dangerous. And look at, I came to Jakarta again, and I heard it was beautiful. COVID, especially caused by the diesel motors. Can I have the next slide, please? And then welding. Welding is a very dangerous thing. And what you see, on purpose, I took this little picture because this happens daily. They do not use their PPEs. It's incredible. Just before I came to Indonesia, I brought my car to the garage, and the first thing I saw this guy, he was welding something. He didn't use goggles, he didn't use a mask, and he said, it's just a quick thing. But just that quick thing is going to cause somebody having ear problems, nose problems, lung problems. But they don't think about it. And it's so difficult to get people to use their PPEs. Next, please. So welder gas is caused by working with stainless steel and all kinds of steel. And the substance is the chromium that is in there. And later on in my presentation, I will be talking about chromium. About chromium-6, because it's a big important thing is to know that welding is carcinogenic but it will take a longer time, it's to 20 years. Exposure. So it's very difficult for us to be able and it also causes cancer of the liver, and it can also cause not only cancer but peptic ulcers. Next, please. And what about electromagnetic radiation? Is this an issue in Indonesia? In Europe, it's a huge issue, especially the 5G. There's this whole, they're having a lot of, there's conspiracy, there's a lot of conspiracy theories. We have not yet been able to prove that electromagnetic radiation can cause problems. They're still denying it, but more and more people, as they are living close to these big electrical towers and all the cables going up from the ground, then you see that you have, they have a lot of problems for their hearing, their sleeping problems. And up to now, we cannot prove that it will cause cancer, but most, well, likely it is going to be, because the problem is that if you you have this cancer, I mean the radiation, you have a disorder from and a disbalance in your body, and any disbalance in your body can cause in the long run cancer. So maybe in about 10 or 15 years we'll be looking at it quite differently from how we are now. But you see that the big companies are denying, and governments are denying, and they keep on denying, and we're trying to prove and try to help people who have their complaints. And then another one, next please. Infections in the long run will cause cancer. Hepatitis A, hepatitis B, is that the same problem in Indonesia? Well, in the world, it's really proven that especially hepatitis B can cause cancer. But the other problem is that people who have problems with their immunity and they have hepatitis B, and they're going to get and they have cancer, and then they get chemotherapy, then their immune system will go down the drain, and the hepatitis, the chronic disease that they have, A, B, C, D, will go up. And so that's why you also get a problem there. And when the body is into this balance, slowly but surely you get all kinds of cancers, so the liver. Next, please. Next. And what do you think about night shift? It has been proven that breast cancer, nurses working in the hospitals, it has been proven, and there's been done a lot of research. But also you have a lot of problems with other, even the thyroid, because there's a disbalance there, heart problems, of course, with night shift, but also cancer of the digestive system, colon cancer, and also peptic ulcers. And if you have a peptic ulcer, slowly but surely it can cause and become a stomach cancer, gastric cancer. Next, please. And asbestos. I was on the way from I was in Bandung, and all at once we were close to Pasteur, and there was this truck, these huge, they dropped, there was an accident, and so all this asbestos all over the place. Well, some people were wearing masks, but it was not because of that. This mask that we are using here is not going to help you to protect you from asbestos. It's not going to help you to protect you from infections. It's not going to help you. Only the FFP2, starting from the FFP2, yes, it will help you a little. But asbestos, it's really terrible. You have the white, the blue, and the gray asbestos. Next, please. So the white asbestos has a low risk of mesothelioma, but when you smoke, it goes up 5 to 6 times. And the blue and the gray, they are very dangerous, and there's no relationship with smoking. The moment that you're working with blue and gray asbestos, that's a big problem. And there's still, in the world, it's still there. In Europe, it is forbidden. So all the houses that are being renovated, all the houses used to have asbestos because it's a great protection against fires. But you're not allowed to use it anymore, and it takes a huge organization to be able to, if you want to renovate your house and to remove all the asbestos. But you see here in other countries, it's still starting from Eastern Europe and all the rest of the world, they still use a lot of asbestos. And the most important thing, the latency period is 15 to 50 years. So the thing we have to make sure that if somebody is affected by it, make sure that the documentation is there, because you might be in pension and then this person might be claiming and saying, okay, I've been working with asbestos, but then 50 years later, he could have started like from his 15th, and then 50 years later, 65. And as our lifespan is going to be longer, this person might have problems. Next, please. And how about you have the polyphenol and the, can I have next, please? Asphalt. Next, please. Yeah. The polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. I always like that. It sounds so nice. Aromatic, so dangerous. Coal industry, asphalt, diesel motors, the rubber industry, and smoking. Lots of asphalt actually in cigarettes. I'll show you later. So everything you burn, it's coal, charcoal, the tobacco, the barbecue. Actually, satay is delicious and I love it. But the thing is, we are causing a little health problem here. So make sure it doesn't get charred too much. The lung cancer it will cause bladder cancer, skin cancer, and leukemia. And the fact that a lot of cancers that you see all the carcinogenic substances, they cause bladder cancer, not kidney cancer, but bladder cancer. It's very interesting because, well, everything goes through the bladder. And so the bladder is always infected and affected. And actually it's microtraumata causing the cancer of the bladder. So the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, the latency period is 5 to 20 years. So we will be confronted as occupational physicians with people complaining, having this cancer, developing cancer. Next, please. And as mentioned before, formalin is very, very toxic. Can I have the next slide, please? And who are affected? The health sector is still used a lot, but you're conserving all kinds of tissues that you have. You still use formalin a lot. The funeral industry, it's used a lot. Is it used in Indonesia? I don't know if it's used in the with the people from the Muslim community, but they do it from the Hindu community and from the other communities because they want to conserve the body. And especially if you don't manage to get buried within 24 hours, you will have to either you use ice or you use formalin. And another thing is that well, all kinds of paper industry uses formalin. And also in the boards that we have, so in the 4 boards that you use to in buildings, the multiplex, there's always formalin in there, and it causes immune reactions, allergies. A lot of people have allergies, irritation of the eyes, of the nose. It will cause COPD, but it will also cause cancer, lung cancer, and also even more. Throat and nose cancer, and sometimes of the use of this because when you get the formalin by inhaling, it will also go into your digestive system. Next, please. And how about PVC? Next, please. So all the PVC that we have, all the wires and everything, there's always PVC in this. Remember that. And again, tobacco. Tobacco is a huge problem and it causes liver cancer and it will cause respiratory problems. So it will cause lung cancer too. And the latency period, and that's very difficult to know. They say it's very, there's a huge variation between 2 years and 40 to 50 years, because PVC has been here from about 60 years now. So we don't know what we can expect, but I think it's going to be tough. More and more people are going to have problems with it. Next, please. So in total, risk factors that can cause cancer. So you have the work setting, but you also have the individual setting. One of the biggest problems that you have, age, people are getting older, the gender, but also the genes, and that's our problem. There are some people can live a life and do anything they want. And they will live to be 90, 100, and nothing happens. They smoke, they drink, they do everything God has forbidden. And but you have other people like youngsters, adolescents, young adults, and because of the genes, they get all kinds of cancer. The environment, whether you live in, you don't have to work in that certain environment, but if you have have somebody in the family working in the mining industry, if it's the gold mining or the coal mining, the water will get polluted, and so the whole environment gets the carcinogenic substances, and then they get cancer. And again, smoking. Next, please. Next, please. Next. Next slide. Oops. Hello, Pat. Yes. The characteristics of cancer and as I'm sorry, it's not as an occupational disease, and this is something that we will be having to cope with every single day in our work. We will have more and more people getting cancer, and the most important thing is we have to it's coming. It is. I'm wearing lenses. Shall I do it through my own? Shall this? Then I have to do it through my own. Shall I continue my? The main takeaway message is that we can prevent it. So if I'm just summarizing. Oops. I'm just making I made a little summary. Did I mute it? So I made a little summary. The latency period depends on how long will it take that a cancer can be caused by a certain substance. Usually it's all the cancers that you get, they're not very exceptional. There are only two exceptions. It's the Mesothelioma and the Angiosarcoma. You still remember, well, Mesothelioma, we all know asbestos. And we know that the aromatic carbohydrates, they make they could cause the sarcoma. And people are relatively young compared to people, you see the same type of cancers, you see them in elderly people, but if you see them in young people, think about that it could be caused by their work. And there are more men than women, and it's also the exposure where they have the causes the cancer. So if you have the dust, so it's the nose, it's the throat, and the lung. And the most important thing that we have to think about is that it can be prevented. So we have to be able to get the whole community to realize how to cope with the dangerous substances that we are working with. We need them, but if you can protect the workers, you can help them to survive. And actually, the most important thing for an employer and the businesses and the directors and the owners of the companies is to actually emphasize the fact that if you don't have people, you will not have a business and you will not earn money. If they get that into their heads, then they will slowly but surely realize it. And as the social economic setting in many countries, and if you take Indonesia, you see the economic growth is really high compared to the rest of the world. The workforce is getting less and less. We have a lot of people in Indonesia, but you are missing out a lot of people. So it's very difficult to get the right employees to do your job. And so this is something that we have to be able to propagate to the employers, that they have to realize that they have to take care of their people. Next, please. Next. No, not next. Okay. And as I'm talking about the employers, the employees, what I would like to discuss, do I still have some time, Dr. Marson? Do I still have some time? Okay. What I would like to talk to about is how to cope with cancer at the workplace and the workspace, because more and more people are getting cancer. And say about 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you hear you have cancer and that's it. You know, it's done. And you drop out. But nowadays, cancer is a chronic disease. About 65%, not with the exception of the very progressive type of cancers in which you, between 3 and 6 or 9 months, there's no therapy possible, that they die. But for the rest, it's a chronic disease. And we have to realize that more than 60%, up to 90%, the 5-year trial is very, very good. So the point is that they have this illness and they will survive it, but they will have to be able to combine it in their own lives, in their own environment, in their families, but also work. And work is so important. Work is also a bit of a medicine. It gives everybody the self-esteem, but it will also keep their minds off the problems. If you hear that you have cancer, you will get very, very emotional, and you will have a lot of things that your whole world is going down the drain. But slowly but surely you will recover. Then a lot of tests have to be done. Waiting until you get in an operation, it can wait maybe 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. What are you going to do in that time? 3 or 4 weeks ago, you didn't know that you had the cancer. You were working and you were doing everything. And so you try to help that's one of our tasks, is to help the people to realize that work can help them to keep them healthy, well, in as good as possible condition. So they don't think about their problems 24/7. But if they do come back, the problem is with employees and their co-workers, everybody's like scared. It's worse to be able to say that you have cancer instead of an infectious disease, which they can understand. And so open communication is going to be very important. So for the first thing, what we have done in the Netherlands, there are occupational medical specialists who have specialized themselves into becoming cancer consultants. And they give a lot of information to all the colleagues that we have, but also to the employers. They explain to the employers what bias do they have, what it's scary to talk about cancer. But the point is, if you can talk about cancer and make it into, it's just like any other disease, and that the co-workers will not be afraid to talk to each other. So that means that the employee who has the problem, you can discuss it, you coach them, and they will tell their colleagues, they don't have to tell every detail, but they will tell them of their impairments and their disabilities. And if the moment that you say that you have cancer, but you still have a lot of possibilities, you explain, and then you don't have to explain to everybody. So they put it on a mail. They can put it on a mail. They can talk to a few, or they just talk to a whole group and they explain a few things. And the occupational physicians, sometimes they join the employee to their workplace to explain to their colleagues and what the problems are. The employer, if you have a good employer and understands the problems and will also accept the fact, what you have to do is tell them that these people who have cancer, they have problems. One of the biggest problems is fatigue and loss of memory. And if you can explain that to them so that they can adjust their work, see what the tasks are from the function that the person is doing, and then try to find a good combination for the worker so that he or she can do the tasks in a certain tempo. So that person will be helping others, be helping him or herself. And so you will see that if you do this, that 65% up to 90% within 1.5 years after cancer and treatment will be going back to the works. And it doesn't make much the difference between the 60 and the 90% is that the 60% are people doing jobs, hard jobs outside, the low level educated and the higher educated. You see them all coming back up to 90% after 1.5 years are back in their work. But what we have found out is that we have that 40% of the people who get cancer lose their jobs. In the Netherlands, it's because of the social security system that we have. After 2 years, the employer is allowed to dismiss an employee, so that the employee has to realize that there is a chance of losing the job. So it is very important, if the person cannot go back to the same job, that in as soon as possible, that the person will be accessed to and to see what possibilities are there for them to get a new job, or what kind of extra schooling do they need, what kind of a course do they need, or do they have to change their whole careers? And if we can help them and guide them there, you will see that these people will have a good functioning life for many more years to come. Is it working? Next slide. No, it's still working. Going back to my general, what I was just telling you, actually it's the last part of my presentation. But going back to this slide, as I was mentioning, what are the problems of the carcinogenic factors that we have and substances? You just take a cigarette, and almost everything I've been mentioning today, you will find back in the cigarette. So it would be a nice, I think this slide, and you can find it on the internet, and it's a nice description. What we do in the Netherlands now, because there's a huge campaign, anti-smoking campaign, and we want the youth to have a zero smoking generation. We put up these signs and we show them everywhere. Like, okay, you have to know exactly what the ingredients are, because usually if you have a package of food, now it's obligatory to all the nutritious information. So we have all the information on the cigarette. We have cadmium, we have just you name it, and it's in there. So I wonder how many people are still smoking. The last thing I wanted to just talk about is, which I mentioned, is chrome 6. Is this a problem in Indonesia? It's a huge problem, especially in the Netherlands now. It's a big issue. A few years ago, they found out that chrome 6, the paint, which is in the paint, is very carcinogenic. And where did they use it? They used it to paint all the military vehicles. For years, the airplanes, all the military airplanes were used because and all the stealths, you use that there. And also the trains, the train wagons in the Netherlands. In the 60s and 70s, people who were unemployed, they were forced, they had to get work. And if they didn't have work, they had to do certain jobs that were they found for them, among others, painting trains. So here you are unemployed, you're forced to do something that you actually don't want to do, but you do it because you want to earn money. I mean, everybody who can work, and everybody can earn money. So and they started painting, and now one after the other is having cancer. So it's a big, big issue in the Netherlands. And slowly the social system in the Netherlands is very good. I explained that a few years ago here. People, one way or the other, will get about 70% of the last salaries for at least 3 years. And after that, the minimum is 880 euros a month. It's not much, but they can survive. But if you have cancer and everything caused by something else, then we go into the suing business and the legal business. So what they've done, and they've seen now, they've realized, the government, that this is going to be a very, very big issue. So they are, per the 1st of July, just in a few days, there's a new regulation, and everybody who is making a claim, they can claim 21,471 euros. I don't know how they got to the 71, and I don't understand why. They've done, and this is, but the thing is, beautiful, this is the regulation, but how are you going to organize this? Who is going to decide that this person has cancer caused by chrome 6? So there's a lot of work. So if you are bored here, you're welcome to come to the Netherlands and help us out, because there's a shortage of occupational physicians. There's a shortage of insurance physicians. And as you know, I'm not only an occupational physician, but I'm also specialized in insurance medicine. And so the point is that it's going to be a huge problem. it doesn't mean these people who will get the restitution, they can also still sue the government and everything, but that's going to take years and years and years. So most people, I think, are going to go for the 21,471 euros. I've come to the end of my presentation. I'm sorry that it's a bit messed up, and I'm the one who actually caused this, because I said, I don't like sitting behind my laptop, looking at my presentation, and then I'm talking, looking at the presentation, and then I think, I don't see myself, so nobody's seeing me, so I can go. Or is anybody listening actually? Like if I say I'm Minnie Mouse, who's going to react? So it's a terrible thing in my mind. So I asked, could I please give my presentation so I'm the way I used to? And I hope you're going to be able to do this very, very soon. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Lailana, for your interesting presentation. For our next speaker is going to be a sharing session from Dr. Boni. Dr. Boni, can you sit with me in the front of the class? So, Dr. Boni Medana Pahlavi, MKK or Master in Occupational Medicine. He graduated from, he completed his medical doctor in Andalas University, and also he also completed the Master of Occupational Medicine in Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Indonesia. As of now, Dr. Boni is completing or pursuing his residency in Occupational Medicine Specialist in Faculty of Medicine, University of Indonesia. And also, Dr. Boni is currently working at the Health Agency of DKI Jakarta Province. So, Dr. Boni, the time is yours for the presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marcin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. My honor to head of Master of Occupational Medicine Department, Dr. Dewi, Head of Community Medicine Department, Dr. Retno Asti, dan Dean of Faculty of Medicine of University of Indonesia, and our lovely speaker, Dr. Lailana Purvis, for complete. Thank you. I'm so excited to share my presentation with you. I have to say that I'm not telling about the disease. I'm not telling about the how to make a diagnosis of the occupational cancer, but I have to share to audience about the cancer in Indonesia. This is my presentation. Yep. Next slide. Yeah. Okay, Dr. Marcin have introduced myself to everyone. So next slide, please. I'm sorry, my English is so rusty, or Dr. Lailana Purvis, because I'm not using my English for my daily conversation, but I will try my best. I hope you still can understand what I'm saying about. Okay, next slide. We talk about what is cancer in Indonesia. What about cancer in Indonesia? Cancer in Indonesia is double burden in developing country in Indonesia. Actually, this is highest province in Indonesia is in Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta, and so there's more incidents from 1.4 per miles in 2013 become 1.49 per miles in 2018 is from the Badan Litbangkes Riskesdas, if you say in Indonesia. Next slide. Cancer in Indonesia, from the age is we can find the highest score in 55 until 64 years old is about 40. Is about 4.6 miles in 2018, and we can find the case in about productive age from 25 until 34, and 35 until 44, and 45 until 44, and then 45 until 64 is we can find the case of the cancer in a productive age. Next slide. Yeah, we can see the cancer based on the gender. We can find much cancer give the effect for female in 2018. We can see that 2.65 per miles for the female. And next slide. Yeah, this is from the occupation. I have to admit that the highest score is from the civilian servant is 4.10 per mile for civilian servant and government. I think it's a quite surprising me because we can see that the Dr. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. I'm sorry. Leilana Purvis. I'm sorry, I'm so nervous to sit here. Yes, you can see my sweat over there. Okay, from Badan Litbangkes, it tells about 4.10 per mile is from civilian servant or government employment. I admit that because of the lifestyle, because the stress for being an civilian servant and employment government, and of course the civilian and employment government is only take one MCU or medical checkup for their health is once a year. So maybe not once a year, once in a lifetime maybe. So we, the highest score is come from the civilian servant and the government employment. And then next slide, we can see the highest cancer is come from the breast cancer atau kanker payudara is about 19.18% is a breast cancer, and then the second is cervix, and the lung cancer, colorectal, hepar, nasopharynx, and non-Hodgkin lymphoma, and then for the last is thyroid cancer. Is the how to describe cancer in Indonesia, Dr. Leilana. And then we go to the regulation. We have the regulation about this occupational medicine and occupational health. Comes from peraturan pemerintah nomor 88 sekian, kemudian diturunkan ke Perpres nomor 7 tahun 2009, dan finally we have the regulation from the Ministry of Health is number 11 years 2022. There are two specific occupational diseases, including mesothelioma. It announced in the regulation, and 22 specific occupational disease is can be diagnosed in primary healthcare or and advanced healthcare. So only two specific occupational disease, including mesothelioma, can diagnose in primary healthcare. And also in this regulation, we can find the 9 occupational cancer it related with work. First, hepatoangiosarcoma, CA laring, bone carcinoma, CA bronchus, squamous cell carcinoma, mesothelioma, bladder cancer, lymphoma, and myeloid leukemia. Is 9 occupational cancer that described on national regulation about the occupational disease. And Dr. Leilana, this is next slide. Yeah, this is the algorithm or clinical pathway or referral pathway if the general practitioner in primary healthcare found the case about the cancer. First, we can okay, it's too small over there, and can the patient come and then get the clinical diagnosis, and then go to the another specialist to get the occupational diagnosis, and then we can find the intervention and therapy, and then describe to occupational medicine or occupational disease. Next slide. Yes. Okay, we have case report from the student from the occupational medicine specialist that found the asbestosis occupational disease with the chronic gastritis. It comes from female 49 years old who works in asbestos manufacture for 24 years. So the chief complaint is cough with reddish sputum, and chest pain in every single call for 6 months. There's no TB history. And then for the radiology for the thorax is found that lung calcification. And then for this parameter explanation, it found the decreased functional capacity. So it's so rare, it's so hard to find the case of the cancer in Indonesia. But we can find one case report from our friend in occupational medicine residency. So what the challenge for the occupational cancer is one, only one occupational cancer according to national regulation could be diagnosed in primary healthcare. Okay, in Indonesia, it named by Puskesmas, Pusat Kesehatan Masyarakat. There is only one occupational cancer, but 9 type of occupational cancer need multidisciplines coordination and collaboration to make that cancer can be described on occupational cancer. And the third is diagnosis occupational cancer in primary healthcare is not easy because the GP, the level competence of GP is just in that way. And then the examining tools is so much expensive, and the primary healthcare, it doesn't have the estimating tools to make the clinical diagnosis like carcinoma, and then carcinoma must be referral to the advanced healthcare. So this is the challenge in Indonesia to make the occupational cancer to be present in our literature or to be present in our research. Thank you for the sharing session. I hope you can understand what I'm saying. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Please give applause for Dr. Boni. Now we have come to the discussion session. So I think Dr. Lai, I would like to sit in the front. Should we have any questions? I think you can sit over there. Yes. Okay, yeah. So I think we have several questions that needs answering. Now, Mas Anjar, can you help us to, I think we should, yeah, Mas Anjar. So these questions came from the viewers online. So for the first questions, dear Prof. Lailana would like to ask about building a big data regarding occupational cancer related in Indonesia, especially in higher industries such as mining and oil and gas. The main problem is in Indonesia, there is no big data for MCU, I mean like the MCU data, and also high turnover rate of personnel in those industries. Do you have any experience regarding this like national registry and how we start building those registry, Dr. Lailana?
Thank you very much for your question, my dear colleague, Brahman. Oh, Brahm, Dr. Brahm. Okay, Dr. Brahm. Thank you. First of all, okay, Dr. Brahm. First of all, may I please make a correction? I'm not a professor, and I will never be. So I'm just Lailana, I'm just a colleague. Yes, building a big data. We have a lot of data, and it's quite easy to make a registration about it. The problem is, how are you going to interpret it and how are you going to use it? And it's a good question. It's a question that is actually asked all over the world. And it's not a problem from Indonesia. What I do see in Indonesia, that you do have huge amount of data, much more than in the Western countries. And I certainly am not an expert in automatization, as you see, as with even my presentation. But yes, we do have a lot of data. You will see all over the world, but it's going to take, I have no idea how to solve this. But what we do see is that the most important thing is that if you have good regulations, good laws, then you will be able to get better data and make it into a good structure, and employers will keep their own registrations, if there is a law. If there's not a law, if there's no regulations, who cares? They're all moving out next. And so what we see in countries such as, well, in the EU, they've been trying to find ways to change the regulations, but up to now, it's still very difficult. Well, the question, is it impossible? No, it's not impossible. And there are a lot of possibilities, but the problem is that the underscore is not correct because you don't have enough data to work on it.
Yes, because as we know that for some industries like oil and gas and mining that deals with toxic chemicals such as benzene, and then in my industries like mercury and cyanide, we already identify that it causes cancer, blah, blah, blah. But the problem is in Indonesia, like Dr. Boni said before, that we don't have the investigation data regarding that. So we cannot ask our government to pay attention about the occupational cancer because currently our government still focusing on cancer, especially on the chronic matter, but not occupational related. And also regarding about how we determine whether the employee is fit for work or not regarding his illness about cancer is very different than age, for example, that we can still have to employ them. But for the cancer, like you said, even in Netherlands, after 2 years,
yes,
go. Yes.
And it's a very big problem. There's a lot of politics. There's a bribery, corruption. I mean, and I'm not talking about Indonesia. I'm talking about the world. Oh, sorry. It's the same problem all over the world. And look how strong the pharmaceutical industries are. Look at how strong the petrochemical, the tobacco industry. And so it's a big struggle. And if you as one doctor are going to be working at a big company and you say, hey, I see some problems here, and you're using this and you're using that, and it's causing cancer, there's the back door. So, you know, it's really tough to be. So what we can do as individuals, but also as a group, is to keep on giving information. And you will see that slowly but surely more regulations will be coming. But what are the actual things that they do? We are trying to avoid. This is public health. This is a big problem for the rest of the whole world. But in the end, for the individual, it will always be a compensation, financial, nothing more, nothing less.
Okay, thank you, Doc. I think it's better if you use this one because it's a bit louder. So for the second question, it's also,
sorry.
For the second question, it's also coming from an online participant, but the person is asking this question online, but I think the person is already present here. So Dr. Parmita is asking, since most occupational cancer have long latency period, would you share your experience? What is the strategy in occupational cancer case finding? Is there any national health record which includes occupational data in the Netherlands, and which could be one of the strategy in managing occupational cancer? So it's about the case finding of occupational cancer. Do you have any experience?
Well, we have a center of what they call the Nederlands Center for Beroepsziekten. Haha, that's Dutch. And beroepsziekten are occupational diseases. So we have the national center, and there we have all the data. We expect and we hope that every occupational physician will take the time and spend some extra energy on making a registration. I'm kind of cynical because if you look at the amount of the registrations that our colleagues are doing, and the the biggest excuse is, I don't have the time to do it. So the problem is that getting into registration is very difficult. Now, the Dutch government has decided that everybody, it's a regulation. And if you do not do it, you will get a fine. So if they find out that you have not registered something, you will get a fine. They don't know yet how much and when it will be effective, but that's, as you see, there's a long way we still have to go.
Yeah, so it's again, it's the regulation, yeah. So the regulation that forces.
Yes.
Okay.
If you, that's the problem. If you don't have regulations, it's anarchy, and everybody's doing everything what they want to do.
Okay. So we will go to the next question. So I think this is a bit of a consultation. So Dr. Nisrina actually has a male office worker, 60-year-old, with 6 years prostate cancer, who works office job at like 8 a.m., 5 p.m., go to work at 6 and reach home in 3-4 hours because of heavy traffic. His position is middle up, means that he's some way out there in the management. He isn't smoking nor using drugs and alcohol. And about 5 years ago, his PSA marker has been controlled well, but recently PSA marker has been increasing since late 2020 with each 3 months checkup. May I ask whether there are any advice that can be given or should be avoided at work that might worsen his condition? I think we should have a clear understanding. Is this the patient prostate cancer or prostate cancer? Oh, so it's, yeah. So do you have any experience with work-related prostate cancer, Dr. Lai?
Yes, I do. And what the first thing we do as occupational physicians, we see the patient or the client, as we call them, but we also have contact with their the specialists who are treating them. If the PSA is going up, it doesn't mean anything yet. It depends on what are the complaints that the patient has at this moment. So that is the most important thing. You have to get you have to get everything straight about the complaints. One of the complaints that they have, as I mentioned, people with cancer, fatigue is one of the biggest problems. And if they've had chemo, especially if they've had chemotherapy or even radiotherapy, they have a loss of memory. Then there have been a few researches. Is it caused, the loss of memory, is that caused by the chemotherapy, the chemo brain, or is it also the emotional problems that they're having and they have not been able to process their illness in their minds? So there's been quite a lot of research on that, but the pragmatic conclusion is that they have fatigue. So you have to do something about it, and it is explainable. So this person, one big problem is he has to go from work at 6, and it takes him 3 to 4 hours because of the macet. And this is, even for a normal person, almost killing.
Yes.
So one of the things we've learned from COVID, I would really try to suggest that before, I would never suggest to an employer, have them work from home, because there's so many problems at home. They don't have the proper facilities at home. They have wife, they have the children, and they get into fights, etc., etc., etc. But nowadays, the new normal, work hybrid.
Yeah.
But this is so. It really depends on what are the disabilities and the impairments that the person experiences.
Okay. So we should like maybe assess the fitness to work for this patient. Yeah. Okay. But do you think that this prostate cancer has anything to do with occupational exposure, for example?
Yes, there are a few prostate cancer. Among others, there are many chemical substances that cause prostate cancer.
Okay. Okay, Doc, I think that would be all for Dr. Nisrina. And for the next question is from Dr. Yitro. Dr. Yitro is saying about regarding smoking cessation and modification with regards to the advance of technology of modified risk tobacco, including the use of heated tobacco rather than the conventional cigarettes. How is it implemented in the Europe or in the Netherlands? So the question is about the heated tobacco, use of heated tobacco.
Well, that's the heated tobacco and also the electronic cigarettes. Before we thought that the electronic cigarettes are much better, they're even worse.
Okay.
They are it's on the verge to be forbidden in Europe. The only advantage of the electronic cigarettes, they don't smell.
Yeah.
But one of the things some people like about cigarettes is the smell. And I'll be very honest. I admit that when I come to Indonesia, I smoke one ketek cigarette because I love the smell. I'm sorry. I've made a confession. No, so the problem with smoking, what they're doing now, they want to have a zero generation, the young generation. They hope to be able to get that by 2030, which is only 7 years to go. And they expect that the cigarettes in the Netherlands, one package will cost between 25 and 30 euros. And at this moment, it's 8 euros.
Okay,
so that's the only thing which you can do. Try to but the thing is, why is the tobacco still here, and why can we still have it? Because there's a lot of money, but also governments get a lot of money because of the taxes.
Okay. So this cigarette taxes, yeah. So how about the use of like I'm not actually quite sure about what Dr. Yitro means with heated tobacco. Have you ever heard about heated tobacco?
I expect that that's the electronic cigarette because.
Oh, I see. Okay. So maybe we can move to the next question. I think this is the last question, Mas Anjar. Okay, this is the last question from online, yeah. But after this, we have the offline session, yeah. So, Dr. Lalana, can you please suggest further actions regarding high chromium value finding in biological monitoring while annual medical checkup? Thank you.
Honestly, no. This is not my specialty, especially monitoring. And what you actually do, and the big difference for in Europe and here in Indonesia, here you do a lot of monitoring. And in Europe, we do not. We hardly do any checkups officially, slowly but surely we do not. The only checkups that we do is work related, which is very general, and it's all about privacy. And it's also all about who is going to do what. If you are working here in Indonesia in a company, they will do all kinds of blood tests, your PSA. I, as an occupational physician, am not allowed, as an occupational physician, to put a little cross and order a PSA, because they say we only look at the risk from the groups, not the individual. And that's a big difference. For the rest, it's all healthcare, the normal healthcare. So that is why the registration is very difficult. I hope it answers your question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm very honest. I know,
okay,
I know many things, but many things I don't.
Okay, Doc. It turns out that we have another question from online. So this comes from Dr. Andy about a worker, again, in chromium plating industry, working for 16 years without proper PPE. From the annual chest X-ray, he was suspected with pulmonary TB and referred to pulmonologist, sputum examination, no TB bacteria, CT has enhancement as suspected with malignancy, and from a fine needle aspiration biopsy, there was no success and follows with open thoracotomy and lobectomy, and then histopathologist only found granulomatous cells and treated with TB at the moment. Do we have any other modalities to further investigate whether this is caused by the chromium? The downside is I still cannot access his full MR, and result, and all is found by patient and pulmonologist testimony. So this is a suspicion of some cancerous disease, but it turns out that it's only TB. Yeah. So is there any suspicion that this condition, which is the granulomatous cell, and also only granulomatous cell, that is actually come from the chromium exposure? I think that will be the question.
But let me see. It was suspected, but there was no malignancy.
Yeah, but no malignancy. It's only found granulomatous. So actually, this is quite a problem because we haven't got the clinical diagnosis. Yeah, because if we want to establish the occupational diagnosis, first we have to know the clinical diagnosis, right? And then we can also look for evidence between the exposures and also the clinical diagnosis. So, but in this case, I think, Dr. Andi, are you still online? Can you explain more? Because from your typing, I mean, from the information I get from your question, I cannot get what the clinical diagnosis of this patient. So, Dr.
Yes,
Andi?
Dr. Marcel. Yes, Dr. Marcel, thank you for the opportunities. So the clinical diagnosis at the moment is post-lobectomy caused by TB, pulmonary tuberculosis TB, but actually the sputum examination itself doesn't show any TB bacteria nor clinical sign of TB. So by what I get from the pulmonologist right now is because it's only found as a granulomatous cell and is supported the diagnosis of TB. So there is no treatment right now rather than a TB treatment. But this is a trial treatment. So whether if the condition is improved within 1 month, maybe it's because of TB. But if it's not improved, they say that they want to redo the examination, to redo the thoracotomy and take another sample and to make sure whether it is not malignancy. So the diagnosis clinics right now is still caused by TB. So do you think we can what should we do to further investigate whether this is also suspected from the chromium itself, because the chromium industry for 16 years without proper PPEs is just for me it's so convincing to have another clinical sign.
Another condition, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I have a motto. I always stick to my own knowledge, and especially as an occupational physician, I have no knowledge about pulmonology and all the tests that you can do. The only thing that I always say, you have to make sure that your network is big enough to be able to get the right specialists to do the right tests. If we look at the chromium, the problem is just like any other cancer, every other substance causing cancer, the cancers are very normal. And we cannot say that it's the chromium that is causing. And this here in this case, it's still in a very preliminary situation. So you don't know what way is it going to be. And to tell you the truth, with this, it wouldn't even surprise me that in the end, it could be that he has also had COVID and that we have not seen it. And because you don't see it, you don't find it back in the blood or whatever. And it could be a cause of long COVID, even then, because we've thought about these past 2 years, what we have experienced is that a lot of unexplained diseases actually were caused by COVID. So who knows? So, but my dear colleague, Dr. Ali, I don't know. I would not be able to give you a concrete advice on what other assessments you should be doing. You could do.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Lai. So I think due to time restrictions, we only have like 1 or 2 questions from the audience here present. Okay, doctor, please introduce yourself. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Ito. I'm a student of Master of Occupational Medicine. I want to ask to Dr. Laila that you mentioned before that if the patient or the workers got cancer, but the patient, the workers before he get the diagnosis of the cancer, he work in physically engaging work. The most easiest way that I usually do is maybe you recall that the risk is the fatigue more higher in the patient with cancer, but the problem is the patient, the workers is before he got the diagnosis of cancer, he worked in physically engaging work. And the easiest way, maybe we can move the workers into more administrative work. But the problem is sometimes the administrative work is not, the company doesn't have the box. Yeah. So what factors that you should pay attention? So the patient with the cancer, as you said, that if he still or she still do the work, maybe it will reduce the anxiety for the cancer. But in another side, the fatigue can cause the physical problem. Then, what kind of factors that we have to pay attention, especially if we want the patient still do his or her work in physically engaging situation. And for Dr. Boni, the second question is, as Dr. Lailana said, then when she first came into Jakarta, a lot of diesel, tar, asphalt, and etc. And last few days we have news that Jakarta is most polluted city compared to another big cities in the world. And yesterday the news become more focused in, let's say that in Bintaro and Serpong is most polluted city near Jakarta. Maybe we can make some kind of research for what's going to happen for the citizen about 5, 10, 20 years later. What I would have to ask is what kind of measure that the health agency going to do to overcome this pollution? Because if I'm not wrong, I recall from data from WHO said that 30% of COPD and cancer is caused by air pollution. Thank you.
I think it's more like the fit to work assessment for those with cancers. And the second question would go to Dr. Boni, Doc. Okay, so Dr. Lai, please.
I can give you an example how we do it in the Netherlands, but also in France, in Germany, and Belgium. The future of assessment, what we see, we have more and more people getting disabilities and not being able to do their jobs. It's very difficult to be able to fit in. There are a few problems. First of all, if that person will not be able to fit in the company where he or she is working, and of course, the higher the education, the more possibilities somebody has, the more possibilities it will be to get the person a suitable job in that company. What we have now, and they started about 25 years ago, and it was booming, and it's still booming business, rehabilitation companies and reintegration companies. So what they have, they do all the rehabilitation for the people to help out, to make sure that they physically and mentally, they are fit, top fit. They will have, that you try to get the optimum. And then you have reintegration companies, and those are the people who have networks, actually from HR, among others, to find people other jobs. So they have these huge networks in different companies. And what they do, they try to help out to exchange people. Because what you see, and you see this coming in Indonesia, the social economical status of Indonesia is going up. That means people will want more security. We're going into insurances, and we're going into more social. Oops, sorry.
The camera is a bit centered, and please be careful with the, there's camera over there.
And what you get is that there's more social security, and so for their financial situation. Otherwise, it's going to cost the government a lot of money. So there's a lot of they spend a lot of money on trying to get people fit for another job and to get them to find another job. So what is happening in Europe, I can guarantee you within 5 to 10 years, this is going to be in Indonesia too. I'm not somebody betting, but I think it will be. It's the future.
Does that answer your question?
Does it answer your question or not really? We can discuss it.
So the next question is going.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question will be Dr. Boni. So about the air pollution and what the health office is going to do about it.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I'm standing here as the alumni MKK, but not for the health agency for the Jakarta province, but I have to answer it. Okay, Jakarta is the most polluted city. But I think Jakarta is the effect of the satellite city that give us the polluted. So first of all, so the health agency of the Jakarta must prepare the data of the top 10 disease in the area with the high polluted, and then we collaborated with the environmental agency and the report what we found that for past 5 years, and then we sent to the environmental agency, this agency that responsible to the environmental, and then the air polluted, and then the soil, and then the water polluted. And we can do analytic for environmental. So in the health agency, there's a section, it's called the environmental health and occupational health and sport. This section do the analytic for the environmental for the past 5 years, and then give the data for the environmental agency, and environmental agency analytic and do and make some recommendation, like that bicycling area, and then trottoir is larger than before, and then I think the government of DKI Jakarta province priority for the air polluted. I think that's all that I can answer for the question. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Boni. So does that answer the question? Okay. So I think we have come to the end of the session for our lecture. So as a take-home message, I would like to say that there is an agency that's called the IRC that has classified many chemicals to be as carcinogens. And we, from the Dr. Lailana's presentation, we also note that many simple activities we do workers do are exposing them with carcinogens. And we also know that maybe other health conditions, if present, will increase the likelihood of cancer, such as when a person is smoke and he also has asbestos exposures, then the risk for cancer is also greater. And also we should not forget that cancer is multifactorial. The work condition may play a role, but also the individual factors may also play a role. And from Dr. Boni, we know that there are occupational cancers regulated in government regulations, but and we also know that occupational cancer cases are still found in Indonesia, but challenges is that the regulations we kind of lack the regulations that that makes case finding is easier to do. So with that, I think I would like to thank our speaker, Dr. Lailana, and also Dr. Boni for sharing the experience with us and knowledge. And thank you. And I'm giving the mic back to the MC. Thank you.
Can we give a round of applause for Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the speakers and the moderators today. Finally, we are arriving at the closing session. On behalf of today's guest lecture committee, I would like to say thank you to the speakers, moderators, and all participants today. And have a great rest of your day. See you in the next guest lectures. I'm Rara signing off. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.